you like NASCAR? Do you like A Tribe Called Quest? Well, you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like manwich and nachos? Well, then you love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like guns? Do you like butter? Well, you're gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Yo, what's good, son? You like pit bulls, say? You like solving Sudoku puzzles? Then you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Hey, buddy, if your car making a sound like this, you might want to get you some power steering fluid and check out the Urban Conservative podcast.
Are you repulsed by the idea of drag queen story time at your local library, but enjoy Carol Baskin TikTok memes? Then you would enjoy the Urban Conservative. Do you want to slap your boss and then go home and make yourself some golden brown pancakes covered in butter and freshly made warm boysenberry syrup? Then you'll love the Urban Conservative. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. You are locked in on this beautiful Monday evening, October 23rd. You are tuned into the Urban Conservative podcast with none other than the TUC twins. As you can see on your screen, I'm joined by, of course, my identical 5 minutes apart, my brother from the same mother. What's going on, Mr. Abdul Ali? How are you, sir? I am super fantastic and amazing, too blessed to be stressed, all that good stuff. All right, well, we got a very interesting show, but as usual, we need you to head over to the website, tuconservative.com. That is where you can get a membership to the website. You can support us as we continue to bring that political awareness, that conservative viewpoint to our urban communities and help others understand reality beyond all narratives. So we can get some unity. You remember that? Unity. Yeah, we need to do that in these days and times. And tonight's a very interesting show, folks. We got a very, very interesting show, bro. Yo, we do have a great show tonight. And one of the things I want to mention, just so at the outset people have an idea of what's going on, I've been getting calls pretty much all day, bro. People like, do we got a speaker? Do we got a speaker? We ain't got no speaker yet. Do we got a speaker? Like all day long. There won't be a vote or anything until tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., which means that they will not be taking up any bills, which means they not working for the American people right now is what's happening. They're up there. They're not there. I think they're out of town right now. But one of the things that did get done, which I find interesting, they always say Republicans don't care about black people. Republicans don't care about making sure black people this and that and the third, the old rigmarole, right? So one of the things that Donald Trump got done that I hadn't seen done before was criminal justice reform. And that was through something called the First Step Act. Now, here's a little announcement. This is back 4 years ago when he made his announcement. Check this out.
Everybody. President Trump showcasing what would be the most sweeping prison reform agreement in decades. And if it passes, one of the biggest bipartisan laws of his administration.
Americans from across the political spectrum can unite around prison reform legislation that will reduce crime while giving our fellow citizens a chance at redemption.
The deal would loosen restrictions on certain federal mandatory minimum sentences, give judges more discretion to sentence people who've committed minor crimes in the past, and extend a 2010 law that could help federal drug offenders serving disproportionately long sentences.
We're just putting a lot of people in jail for a long period of time who I think need to be back out on the streets working.
The rollout.
Oh, so listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us tonight someone who has experienced policy firsthand, who knows exactly what's going on. Shouts out to Tucson, Arizona. We got folks all the way from Tucson checking in. But we have a brother that is on that has been personally impacted by that legislation, by the First Step Act, and by the policy that Trump and Republicans put forward for the first time on the Urban Conservative. Y'all, please welcome with us Brother Craig Scott. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for
thank
having
you.
me on your show.
Well, glad you could make it on. Glad you could be here, bro. Hey, man, listen, we're going to jump right in because this is a serious, very serious topic.
Yes,
and
sir.
The first thing we like to try to do is people always go, well, why is that person qualified to talk about this? Or why does that person, get the room to talk about that? So before we start anything else, talk to us a little bit about how you got, well, first of all, into the criminal justice system, number one, and then number two, why that First Step Act was important. So take a few minutes, give us the backdrop. How did you get there?
Okay. Real quick, my name is Craig Scott. Basically, I'm an actor, filmmaker, and a former Black militant activist. And in the 90s, 1990, 94, the pro-Black movement was really big in the urban community, and I was very much a part of that movement. And what I did was I followed a program that was laid out by a offshoot of the organization called the Black Panthers. This organization is called the Black Liberation Army. You may have heard of Assata Shakur, Shakur, Matula Shakur, people like this. Well, this group here, they basically had an even more militant approach to the civil rights movement than the Black Panthers. And one of the things that they would do is they would rob white-owned banks, use that money to finance Black cultural events, Black political education programs, and things of that sort. So coming across this organization by reading a book by Assata Shakur called Assata, I began to basically function in that same manner. So myself and three other Black men, we basically began to indulge in that sort of militant activism. And what we would do is, we would take the money, we did cultural events, we financed, there was an African dance class for kids in the neighborhood. And I also produced a play. And with that play, the name of the play was Can an N-Word Do Shakespeare? In which I was challenging the stereotypes about whether people from the urban communities could do Shakespearean theater.
Hold up. Is it really called Can the N-Word Do Shakespeare?
Yes, sir. That's what it's called.
No. So there's a flyer that exists says Can N-Word, or do it say Can a nigga do Shakespeare? Can do it.
There's a
okay,
movie,
I said it. He didn't say it. I said it.
right. Because I didn't know whether it was okay.
No, we there. You can say it.
Yeah, there's a movie streaming right now on Tubi by the title Can a Nigga Do Shakespeare? It's a docudrama about my life, about my activism, about my arrest, and out under this First Step Act. So yes, it's real. It happened.
So let me ask you this question, bro, because one of the things my brother and I spend a lot of time dealing with, trying to take people out of, is kind of this sovereign citizen movement. That whole thing. How easy was it for you to get swept up into the Black militant activists? Was that like, it wasn't hard to do?
Oh,
I'm
no,
assuming,
not at all. Not at all.
How easy was that? I mean, before you knew it, it's like you were down a rabbit hole. Like, what was that like?
Well, the transition happened, interestingly, when I went to a predominantly white university, Boston University. And I was basically exposed to the book called The Autobiography of Malcolm X. And when I read that book, it really just changed my whole perspective on politics, on history, on, a whole lot of things, especially as it affected the Black community. So that was my my entrance point into the whole Black militant movement. I personally never got into the whole sovereign thing. That was something I would come across once I was incarcerated. But my focus was basically on from a Black nationalist standpoint.
Gotcha. Ra, what you got? So we hear horror stories about people being incarcerated. Your experiences inside of prison. how would those experiences, with the militant mindset you went in there with, was that an asset to you, or did you find yourself in situations having to defend that position, or were people like, like what's that environment like as a black,
Right.
in your mind as a black militant? Explain to the folks a little bit about what that environment is like.
Okay. When I first entered prison, we started out in the city jail, Baltimore City Jail. At that time, Baltimore City Jail was as bad as Attica, as bad as Rikers. It was a horror story. So you had to make a lot of adjustments. Well, I had to make a lot of adjustments with regard to just the senseless violence that was going on in that institution. Plus, of course, the conditions were horrible. The institution was so bad that they eventually had to shut it down. So that was the first thing that I went through. It wasn't until I got to the federal institutions that's when I began to understand the politics that happens inside of the federal prison. And because I came from a black militant background, I had spent about 2 or 3 years functioning with the Nation of Islam, doing security for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. So when I got to the feds, they had a Nation of Islam religious group. So I basically started functioning with that group, and through that, I was pretty much introduced to everything else that you would have to learn about doing time, in a federal situation. So in that instance, yeah, it actually was a positive for me to have that kind of background going in. Had I not, I would have been more susceptible to have to join organizations that were more, basically the gangs. You would have to either, join a gang or join a city car. This is what we call them. They were basically, you are segregated according to the cities that you come from. And, I would have had to subject myself to that. But fortunately, because of my political background and activism, I was able to skirt a lot of that first coming in. Yeah.
Shouts out to JD Zonewalt and the whole crew out in Moore County watching along. He said, I doubt if there's any other city in the U.S. as bad as Baltimore, no matter your race. Gang, they run most prisons. Is he wrong? Probably not, brother JD.
No, not at
Well,
all.
so let me go ahead, Ali.
Okay, well, let me ask this because I want people to understand something. How many people were killed in the commission of your crime?
None. There
How
was
many
no
injured in the commission? Because when I heard you speak and you mentioned that, just tell people a little bit about that and the disproportionate nature of the time,
Oh,
because
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
intriguing to me.
Right. Prior to Bill Clinton and Joe Biden basically putting into effect the crime bill, I think it's 1994, 1995. If you committed a bank robbery, if you committed a string of bank robberies, you would basically have to do time for all of those robberies, all at once, all together, what we call concurrent sentence. In my case, we had a conspiracy to commit three bank robberies. In those robberies, not a shot was fired. No one was ever robbed of their personal belongings. No one was shoved, kicked, spat on. Any sort of physical violence actually occurred. But because of that law that they put into place, a crime that we would have normally served 10 to 12 years for, we were actually convicted and we were sentenced to 52 years as first-time offenders. So that was just how crazy and disproportionate the sentences have become under Clinton's administration.
So you'd have been actually better off, like, for all intents and purposes. It's like you'd have been better off giving somebody the business for all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, go ahead, Rock.
That point was made in my case many times. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I also kind of hopefully would like to draw out in this conversation is that we now today see so much, glorification of this thug lifestyle, and it's like a weird nexus between the hood's support for Donald Trump and this like I said, this idolization of thug culture, right? So when was it in your journey through prison that you started to come to some type of, like when did you start heading towards the light, if you will? What was the incident that made you reflect on, if any, and say, hey, maybe there's a different direction here?
Well, my evolution wasn't really from thug to anything, because I never was. That wasn't my mentality, if you will. We were more functioning from a political militant standpoint. I think if there was an evolution of my thought, it was because I actually had the time now to actually sit down and study and learn history, understanding economics, understanding politics a little bit better. And I began to kind of see how things weren't as cut and dry and white and black as I thought before. So that's where I began to kind of soften my attitude, one, towards the white race in general, and then two, have a more broader and more balanced approach when it came to politics and issues of economics and things of that sort. So that was my transition. To this day, I don't have a tat on me. I've never been a part of any gang. The jewelry thing, that just what, that wasn't,
Right.
me. So that transition, I can't really, explain that to you, but I can explain basically the political transition that I went through.
Yeah, and
Ladies and oh, go ahead,
hold
bro.
on, before you go to break, you touched on something I don't want the listeners to overlook. We had our moment, brother, where we came to this moment, like you said, where it's like everything we've been told may not be quite what we thought it was, right?
Right.
So do you remember that moment you had? Was it something particular you read? Was it like, like did you have that moment where like me and my brother had, where like we were literally on the phone with each other, like, damn it, we got lied to. We as we started to study, you get that overwhelming sense of anger that for the last 20 years you've been banging on white man's the devil. And now you like, ooh, I think I overshot that one. But did you have that moment?
Yeah. Well, I think my moment first started with realizing that people that I was kind of looking up to, they weren't half as dedicated to the cause as I was. They weren't willing to go to the lengths that I was willing to go to. Yet they were the leaders, and they were, so that was the first sort of wake up call. And so once I became disillusioned about that, that's when, I was more open now to, looking at different perspectives, looking at things from a different point of view, and at the end of the day, just being more balanced in my critique of the political and social situation that we were facing in the Black community.
Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with the brother Craig Scott, formerly incarcerated activist, now actor, got a wonderful show on Tubi. We're going to get a link to that on the Urban Conservative. Want to take a very quick 30-second break and come right back. We're going to talk about First Step Act, Donald Trump, and a whole lot more with Craig Scott here on the Urban Conservative podcast. Give us a share. We'll be back in 30.
Just because you're black doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are back here on the Urban Conservative on this beautiful, again, Monday evening. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Of course, make sure you head over to the website, tuconservative.com, get yourself a membership. Also, we rebuilding our YouTube channel. Y'all know we don't put a lot of emphasis on YouTube, but we are at TUC Twins on YouTube, at TU Conservative on X, formerly Twitter. We're talking with the brother Craig Scott, and Ali, let's get into this First Step Act thing. When did you hear about that? Like, how did the First Step Act get on your radar? And what was that like to find out you were eligible for that, if you will?
Right. Well, things actually started with during the Obama administration. We were under the impression that, first Black president, that he was going to address that issue with regard to the crime bill. And, we were kind of disappointed because he did what I call, instead of making systemic changes to the laws, he did the Oprah Winfrey approach of, you get a commutation, and he tried to do it in an anecdotal individual basis when there was a systemic problem. So he went through his first term. Everybody said, well, maybe he couldn't do it in the first term. Second term came. He didn't do it then. So, we were pretty much in the mindset that all hope was lost. There was nothing that was really going to be done about it. So then Trump becomes the president. So the last thing we're thinking is Donald Trump is going to actually do something with regard to that issue. But then there was some murmurs going around. Hey man, Trump's talking about changing this crime bill. Trump's talking about changing the crime bill. So sure enough, he started speaking publicly, and he basically made a declaration to the Senate and the House of Representatives to bring him a bill that he could sign that would turn the page on these decades of draconian laws that were set into place. And listen, man, he drug Mitch McConnell and I think it was Nancy Pelosi. I think she was the head at the time, across the line, and basically forced them to bring something to the table. And what they brought to Donald Trump was radical. They changed so many aspects of the 1994 crime bill that I can't even go into everything that they changed. But once I heard it, there was an issue about whether or not those changes were going to be applied, what we call retroactively. That means those of us who were sentenced under those draconian laws, with those laws being changed, will we be able to benefit from it? And unfortunately, that activity wasn't in those laws. However, Donald Trump had changed laws regarding a law that's dealing with the BOP, or the Bureau of Prisons. And there he was able to have judges make individual decisions on people who would be able to qualify for those new changes. And fortunately for myself and the brothers that I was incarcerated with, the judge that we had felt as though the time was entirely too much. Our prison conduct was such that we shouldn't have been, held there for the rest of our lives practically. And so she now had a law where she could give us the relief that she wanted to give us. Yeah.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Craig Scott. I got to ask you a question. So prior, because it sounds like the people in the system that were, behind the walls there, was the going sentiment behind there, oh, Trump's a racist, he ain't gonna do nothing for black. Was that
Well,
the
yeah,
sentiment?
of course.
Okay.
Listen, that is unfortunately, that is the programming that our people have been indoctrinated with, just when it comes to the dichotomy of the Democrats versus the Republicans. It has been the argument, and talking right now, it has been the argument of the Democratic Party. Oh yeah, we're not doing the best that we should do for you, but you got to stay with us because the Republicans are even worse. And this has been their argument for why we ought to vote for them. And I personally have never, bought that. But I came from a more radical standpoint, so I was dissatisfied with both of these parties from Jump Street. But that has always been the argument. And unfortunately, a lot of brothers that were incarcerated also, bought into that whole line. So when Donald Trump, with all of the controversy that was surrounding him about the Central Park Five and those comments that he made, the Haiti comment, all of that, a lot of brothers was like, oh no, he's never going to do anything that's going to be beneficial, for us. But so then we start hearing about the money that he wanted to allocate to the HBCUs. Then we heard about the different things that he was doing in that area. Then we were getting information from our friends and family on the street about how the economy was just turning around. Black entrepreneurship was growing. People were actually, calling in and emailing us, and man, listen, man, there's money out here under Trump.
Right.
So we were hearing all of those type of things as well. So then when the thing about, listen, he's going to change the laws regarding the crime bill, we were more open to now believe that it was going to happen. Yeah.
So do you think now, and I've got family members and friends that have done time, do you think now we're at a point where as an American society, we're looking at more of a rehabilitative role for criminal justice instead of a punitive punishment type role. Do you think that's the direction we're headed?
Well, I'm gonna be very honest with you. We are headed in that direction, but we're headed in that direction for one reason. The white community is now beginning to feel the economic pressures that we have been experiencing far too often. So guess what? A lot of white guys are going to prison now. A lot of white guys are joining gangs. A lot of white guys are having problems with drug things of this sort. So once that started happening, I think people were now more willing to open up to the idea of, well, maybe these people really are having a problem with drug addiction. Maybe these people are responding to economic pressures and stresses.
Mm.
And so, yeah, so now, I don't have any doubt in my mind that that was also a motivating factor for why both Democrats and Republicans were willing to now make some changes with regard to the law, because they are seeing those trends now happening in a lot of predominantly white communities.
Well, one thing I do, and full transparency, we're Republicans, we're conservatives, but we tend to want to throw the 94 crime bill at the feet of people like Joe Biden.
Right.
But both parties were complicit in that bill, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, no question. Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich was the guy on the right who was basically, pushing the situation. But the reality is, Joe Biden was literally the architect of this thing. Joe
Mm.
Biden was the one who stood on the Senate floor talking about, and this is very ironic, talking about if you get caught with a piece of crack the size of a quarter, you're going to jail for 10 years, and I don't want to hear about your socioeconomic pressures and your socioeconomic issues. Now, this is
Mm.
the same guy who now his son is caught with looks like a half a key of crack, and Biden isn't doing anything to make sure that he feels the same sort of sting and the same sort of punishment that he put black and brown people. That's why I put so much emphasis on the role that the Democrats played in that particular crime bill, because also this is the party that benefits the most from black voters. Yet you
Mm.
create a piece of legislation that would disproportionately ill affect the people who have been the most loyal to you.
Mm.
So that's the reason why I put my focus on that. But yes, both parties are absolutely culpable in the passing of that bill, no question.
Absolutely. Rob, what you got?
So I'm still I the 94 crime bill thing. Why what do you think the mechanism, right? Because maybe it's easy for us that we have and for lack of a better way to put it, that we've got our senses about us, right? That we're able to discern information. We don't just get told something and then accept it. It's like, okay, I'm listening. Hold on, give me a minute. Let me look it up, right? We
Right.
kind of like to go through this process of discerning information now, but what do you think the major cause that, or the reason that our folks, whose freckles are as close together as ours,
Right.
aren't picking up on this? Because we're still, wholesale voting Democrat, unfortunately. And since 94, yeah, the voter trends have started to, move a little bit, but clearly not enough to save cities like Detroit, Chicago, etc. So what do you think we can do, or what do you think they have such a hold on that's got our folks on that side?
Well, two main things. The first thing that I would say is um, they're definitely taking advantage of the collective emotions of our community.
Mm.
Our community is in a lot of stress. We're under a lot of different pressures, and so we're more susceptible to making a lot of decisions based on a lot of sentimental and emotional factors. That's one thing. The other thing, which I really, really want to address right now, is that unfortunately, a lot of Black conservatives have done a poor job at selling conservative principles to the Black community, even though many Black people are very conservative. And the problem that I see is that we can't simply be Black faces spewing white talking points. that's never going to go over well in our community. It's never going to be a thing that our people are going to be able to relate to. We have to be comfortable in being conservative or having conservative views without denying the fact that we're black, and that being black it has a unique experience for you here in America. And until we can better hone a message for our people that we can relate to, I think we're going to continue to see, to see those unfortunate trends. But if we could just talk to our people in the language that we would speak, from the shared experiences, the shared pains, the shared struggles, I think we would do a lot better job at convincing our people to stop just knee-jerk responding and voting Democrat just because it's a Democratic president. But a lot of that responsibility falls on those who are identifying themselves as Black conservatives.
Love it. Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with the brother Craig Scott, formerly incarcerated militant activist, actor. Got a film on Tubi that's playing right now. You can look that up. We'll make sure we get a link on the Urban Conservative for that. We've been talking about Donald Trump and criminal justice reform and the crime bill. But you know what it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the brother Craig's first time on the Urban Conservative. So lightning round is about to go down in these parts. Rod,
Yo, I didn't get my Jamaican sound effects machine yet, and I'm waiting for it. I can't find it on Amazon. You know, I'm talking about the button. Where?
Yeah.
Find the original, like 1989 one of those. I can't find it. But yeah, lightning round time, bro. What you got?
All right, so here's the thing.
Oh, do you want me to go first?
You can go first. But here, we just lost Rod. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna wait for Rod to pop back in. There he goes. I don't know where he disappeared
they kicked me. I don't know what that's about.
All right. So here's what's happening, brother Craig. We're going to give you 5 questions, one word, as quickly as you can answer.
Wow.
This is it. I mean, and these are serious questions because the people need to know.
I got my lightning round questions. You can do those. I got my lightning round questions. You can do the ones you want to do.
I got the ones that I'm gonna do. You
right,
ready?
I'll set it off. All right. You ready? All right, here we go. Nike or Adidas?
Wow. I don't wear tennis shoes, so
okay. Adidas. There's your answer. There's what you got. Okay.
All right. Who's really the GOAT, LeBron or MJ?
Oh wow, man! Talking about Trump is easier than this question. Oh wow! I'm gonna say LeBron. Go ahead. I'm gonna give LeBron.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Pizza or barbecue?
Barbecue. Anytime.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ali.
All right. Who is the better action star, Michael Jai White or Wesley Snipes?
Wesley Snipes. Ain't no question.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, hold on. Sidebar question. What's your favorite Blade movie?
The first one. The first one was the
Thank you for saying that. Anybody saying part 2 or 3, y'all are tripping.
Which is the one where he was making fun with what's the guy, the comedian, the white guy, where he was like,
I don't know if I can say my favorite line.
Give it to us. What is it?
Okay. Y'all gonna get me in trouble. This is my favorite line. It's not from Blade 1. Yo, when what is the wrestler's name? Triple H was in it, remember?
Yeah.
Triple H, it was a hallway scene. And he said, and I quote, "We're over here getting ass fucked." Like, what? What does this have to do with Blade? How does this fall into a vampire movie? Wait, I remember just spitting out soda like, wait, how did that happen? You know the scene I'm talking about where he got sucked into the elevator anyway. But anyway, that was it was so out of place. Question. Next question.
Stallone or Schwarzenegger, bro?
Wow, that's another hard one. Man, my mother loved Rocky, so I got to go with Stallone.
Yeah, you got to honor my peeps. Okay.
What you got, Rock?
Okay. Biggie or Tupac?
Pac, all day long. Pac.
Okay,
Pac could be thug.
Okay, we got 2 more, Ali. Go for it.
Pac could go political. Pac could talk about the, he was more well-rounded to me. Yeah.
All
Plus, I
right.
went to
Which
school
was
with
a
him. So.
better?
You got one more. I got one more.
I got one more for you. Which was a better black TV show? Good Times or The Jeffersons?
Yeah, the Jeffersons. Gotta be.
Yes.
They spent most of the time, showing his success as opposed to all of that, down and
I'm with
out.
it. Go ahead, Rob.
You know
I
what I'm
got
saying?
you.
Yeah.
All right. So last question here. All right. So you're trapped on a desert island for the rest of your life.
Oh my.
You will get one meal for breakfast every
Every
day.
day
You will
you
get
get the same
one,
thing.
but it's gonna be the same thing for breakfast. You're gonna then get to choose a lunch. It's gonna be the same thing for lunch every day. And dinner. The same thing for dinner for eternity. You get a book, you
Oh
get an
my.
album, and you get a movie. What is Craig Scott stuck on this island eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What's your album, your book, and your movie?
Jesus. Okay, pancakes for breakfast. Salmon for dinner. My favorite album. Y'all gonna laugh when you hear this one. Purple Rain.
I'm not laughing at that. That's a great
Yeah,
album and it's
Purple
long.
Rain. Yeah. Book. That's a good question. Favorite book. Man, I have to come back.
And mind
to
you,
that.
you got to read this forever. So
Yeah,
it's got
right.
to be a good one.
Favorite book. That's a hard one. Favorite movie. Probably have to be The Godfather because I didn't watch it a million times, so I could watch it another million. Yeah.
All right,
Good
yo.
call. Good call.
Yeah.
For the record, I watched The Godfather Part 2 and the other one, and I was like, "What is this for? Like, why did y'all do this? Like, you could have just left it alone and let us
Right,
think
fair
this
enough.
out."
But what do you got? What's that? Oh, you said Godfather. What was the book?
Oh, the book. I can't listen. I've read so many books. I can't even answer that one. I
Okay,
really
fair
can't.
enough.
Yeah, that's
Fair enough. Well, you've passed the lightning round, which means you get the full screen to tell the people how they can support you, your film, and anything you want to
Oh
say.
wow.
The floor is yours.
Man, thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. Love the opening to the show, The Urban Conservative. My name is Craig Scott. I have a movie streaming right now on Tubi called Can a Nigga Do Shakespeare? Please check that out. Also, please follow me on Instagram, CANDS _ in between each letters. And thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Have fun.
Top mute, Ali. Top mute, Ali. Top mute, Ali.
I was there talking, and it was so good too. I was thanking you, Craig, for coming on and saying, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow the brother Craig Scott on Instagram, you see it on your screen. Also, the movie playing on Tubi, so make sure you check that out. We'll make sure you get a link to it on the Urban Conservative. We really appreciate you coming on to chop it up with us, brother. A lot of things, a lot of times we like to tell our guests the one thing we know you do not get more of in this lifetime is time. So we're eternally grateful for you spending a little bit of yours with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be with you guys tomorrow morning right back here for top of the morning at 9 a.m. here on the Urban Conservative. For my guy down there, my twin brother, Raheem Architect Soto, my man Craig Scott over there, I'm Abdul Ali. Y'all been checking out the Urban Conservative Podcast. Peace and love, y'all.
Peace.
Just because you're black doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com.